Let me see if that's actually the case. Hey guys, I'm joined by Jason Polk from Colorado Relationship Recovery, and couldn't be more honored to have him here. How are you, Jason?
I'm doing well. How about you, Dave?
I'm doing fantastic, man. We were just chatting a little bit about how this feels like a new normal, and people are starting to catch up with functioning at a regular or a more improved pace than they normally would. What are you experiencing?
Yeah, same thing. I was telling you a little bit about people coming in for couples counseling, and when the quarantine originally hit, a lot of people dropped off. Even regular clients that I had, I've been doing video, and even a lot of clients, they didn't want to do video. And some of it too, kids at home, there's that. But yeah, now, as you were saying, this is the new normal. People know the ground rules, so to speak. This is how it is. And so from my perspective, I've been picking back up, which has been good.
Right. I'm so impressed with the mental health community and the insurance companies actually approving teletherapy, which I know that I need my coaches. I know that I would jump right back in with my counselor if like I didn't shift insurances in the fall. And I just know how valuable it is for all of us. And we were briefly talking about grief. And what are your thoughts on the stages of grief and where people are at collectively right now or individually?
Wow, good question, Dave. Here's the answer just at the top of my head. I don't know. No.
And that's
um,
okay.
yeah, I mean, I guess yeah, I mean, fundamentally, I don't know. I mean, I think people go through this, differently. I mean, I'm not too familiar about, I know of them, the stages of grief, but I'm not too familiar with it. But, I think, at least let me share my perspective. I want to hear your perspective too. I was like kind of upset when this came out. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is just going to ruin everything. And I liked how things were, right? Hey, my business was doing good. And then all of this changes that. I mean, I guess I was upset, or maybe first it was denial, right? And then I was angry. And then it is, okay, well, this is how it is. And then fundamentally, it's like there's actually like some cool lessons here. I know for myself, I've learned the importance of family. I've been home more, and I realize how cool that is. I've been cooking more, and I forgot how much I enjoy cooking. And also, too, a reminder, and I think this is good for us Americans, have a little bit of savings. Have a lot of
Whoa,
savings.
an emergency fund, man. I've
Yeah.
been self-employed for 9 years. I feel that to the core.
Yeah. And I think we got so used to like things just rocking, right? Or at least I did. So I don't know. I mean,
Yep.
like what's been your experience?
Oh, it's very much so the same. We could probably, as Americans, you were alluding to it, is like live our lives through our work. And that's pretty typical of like capitalist, capitalist environment here. And it all centered around, well, the gym got shut down. Okay, well, I was displaced. I was basically out of work. Like I went to work on Monday. I had no work on Tuesday. All right, now what do I do? Well, I personally took 2 days worth of just denial and then anger really quick. And then I have a really great relationship with God, and that my faith comes back. And in the bargaining stage, I said, okay, here we go. If this is going to be how it is, what can I do to thrive and survive during this time period? And where I'm sitting at currently is between depression and acceptance in the fourth and the fifth stages, where I can waver up, down, and around. And I notice that through my nutrition habits, and if I have that second glass of wine.
Hmm.
So so what I've been contemplating on to kind of ease my way from depression back into acceptance where I'm thriving is remembering what Brene Brown says is where you can't selectively numb.
Hmm.
Where if you're numbing one thing with that glass of wine, you're numbing everything, even all the joy and all the gratitude that you're experiencing spending more time with your family, and learning the lessons of like, I love to cook. I have gratitude for that. Well, I don't want to numb that gratitude and that joy.
Yeah, I like it. That's great.
And that's where I sit. And since we talked, it was Halloween when we recorded our first episode. We did not dress up in costume, but we did talk a lot about PACT therapy, and we talked about Dr. Stan Tatkin, and I got really curious after our conversation. So I read Wired for Dating.
Great. What do you think?
And oh, I absolutely love his perspective on the psychobiology and so forth of what are we doing interacting with other people in this one-on-one relationship that we want. You know, we're actually desiring that connection as a social being. So he's telling us, he's given us a game plan and a blueprint not to F it up. I wish I would have read it earlier.
Yeah. Well, great. No, I think that's a great book.
And what sets them apart? What sets Dr. Stan Tatkin apart from all the other mental health professionals and love and relationship experts out there?
I think what sets him apart is the idea that in a way, like our survival, when we're in a committed relationship, our literal survival is based on the strength of that relationship. And you may think, well, that doesn't make sense. Well, if you kind of take a bigger picture, studies have shown that if you are in a healthy relationship, you actually live longer, you have improved memory, it is protective factors against disease, and also too, you're better able to be that effective coworker, business owner, because you are not thinking about the strength of the relationship at home. All of your resources are freed up to be the best that you can. And also being able to fully rely on someone that is, I know, reasonably soon without coercion or fear. If I reach out to my partner and say, hey, babe, we need to talk, she is going to drop everything reasonably, right? And give me a call. And so just the knowing being, he says, tethered to someone like that, it actually does help us function better in the world. And thus we can say it adds to our ability to survive, or maybe a better way to put it, our ability to thrive. And I think his attitude on that, he says, picture you and your partner, you're like in the foxhole together. I know he uses the analogy of the couple bubble, whatever it is. I mean, it's kind of a cheesy word, but some
If it's
people don't like
memorable.
it. Yeah, some people like it, some people don't. But I would say that basic philosophy sets him apart from a lot of the other, couples therapists, relationship counselors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did enjoy the analogy of the couple bubble. And I believe you and I were talking about the two bubbles of an individual, and then they overlap. And that's what becomes the couple bubble. And I just loved his description. It was actually really plainly spoken and didn't use a whole lot of medical jargon or I'm a pretty simple guy. I like to keep things pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Mm-hmm.
talked on a point in there about resources. We don't have an infinite amount of resources. We have a certain number of hours that we're awake a day. We run out of time. We run out of just energy. And your partnership, your point to pouring more resources into what we're passionate about, as opposed to our mind ruminating and sucking us dry on the health of our relationship.
Mm-hmm. 100%. And he shares this too. One of the worst things you can do in a committed relationship is threaten the relationship. That means, well, why don't we just break up? Because that just erodes the fundamental foundation of it. And the more that's thrown out there, the more you're going to question. And that is going to it's kind of like, what's the point? Like, does my partner have my back?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to feel like our partner has one foot in, one foot out at all times.
And that can drive us crazy. And it depends on how we handle it. Some people, go inside, maybe turn the alcohol, drugs. Some people will get more upset at their partner. This depends on your style. But if we think our partner is not in 100%, it's not good for us in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he's also talking in Wired for Dating about preparing yourself for this relationship that you're looking for as well. And the buzzword out there right now is red flags, looking for red flags. Well, he's just simply acknowledging that we don't know how interested this new person is in us. So let's find out through natural human interaction and behavior to keep moving. I like the football analogy. Keep moving the play down the field.
Mm-hmm. And I remember he uses the term Sherlocking too.
And
to get information. Yeah.
I should be a better sleuth, I think. Yeah, tell us a little bit about Sherlocking and how that applies to beginning a new relationship, or it could even be rebuilding a foundation in a relationship too.
Yeah. Well, what I got from Sherlocking, and full disclosure, I haven't read the book in a bit. I sometimes pull it out and refer to it. But what I remember from that is Sherlocking is I need to have attention. I know he says outward attention. What is the word he uses? But basically, like I'm mindful, but a lot of the mindfulness is on my partner, and so I am aware of what's going on. And in theory, that's also good for us too, because we're not thinking about all our stuff. It's just another way of putting our attention. And Sherlocking, I know he says, so when the partner talks about their family, what do they say? Is it positive? How collaborative are they? Do they have, how do they say we, or is it me? How about their friends? How, what do they say about their friends, or maybe like past, but I do remember that was a lot of the Sherlocking. I don't know if you probably say it better than me.
That's quite all right. And he's also got some really mindful tips and helpful things to look for before you enter into that relationship. Like, I think there's like 5 reasons to get into a relationship and 16 reasons to exit a relationship.
Nice.
No, I would think that it's flip-flopped, but where where we're okay, we're really analyzing who we are together as a pair, and we're like, okay, there's 16 things that I'm looking for. My partnership has 10 or 11 out of them. Okay, I'm going to enter into that relationship. But I think what he's done is he's whittled it down to the 5 most important ones. And how do we apply that philosophy, kind of analysis, but also staying in the moment and being mindful while we're trying to build a connection with somebody else?
Well, and let me share, not to evade your question, but I really like what he says about don't look for the right person and look for the right relationship. Because I think we get caught up in interest a lot. Oh, great, this person does everything that I'm into. But how do they think about relationships? Like is relationships just for it's me first, and then, oh yeah, by the way, you can come along whenever I feel like it to do our shared rock climbing. Sorry, there was a tangent, and I know I didn't answer your question,
No,
which
that's all right. I enjoy it a lot because it's inspiring some new emotions in me. Absolutely. Is like, do we fixate on the fluid thing that is the relationship, or is it the fluid part that's the person that can fit into that values-based relationship, which is where my mind and my heart is going, is to the values that our relationship will be founded on.
mm-hmm. And yeah, and that's with the values. It's what are our values, and then we can have agreements. For example, we put the relationship first, or actually in this relationship, just so you know, my work is first. that, or, you know, hanging out with our friends, our friend times comes first, or whatever it is, like what our values are. And then, so then we can have concrete agreements around them. But I'm 100% like it's values.
And what are some really common values that you're seeing amongst maybe your clients or amongst your experience as a relationship counselor or in your own personal life?
Hmm.
What values come to mind?
Well, values is, well, let me start with agreements, and then we can go back from there. So I'm good. I'm like slippery, man.
I'm trying to grasp on, but I'm following you, brother. Let's keep rocking
Yeah.
and rolling.
So one agreement is, and I'm doing an example of my own practice. And an agreement is, let me think of a recent one that is good. We don't reach out to our in-laws before we talk first. And so with that, we can do that. It is transparency, or the values that we are the top of the food chain, that we come first. And then you can make your agreements around then. Or we have an agreement, here's one, that we are not going to let things fester, any sort of resentment. We're not going to let it fester over a day. And our agreement there is transparency or honesty, communication, you know, well, whatever you want to put that as far as your values. Or we have an agreement that family comes first. That means we are not going to work on the weekends. If you do, you have to get permission 3 weeks in advance, or I don't know, or you have to make it up somehow. But these are agreements. But these agreements are important because it's like, these are the operating instructions. We have to agree on them because we have to protect each other from each other, right? Like, this makes it so we don't harm each other. Like, we all agree to stop at a red light because that's in all of our best interest. Just like we all agree to be transparent. And here's another one that came up recently, is about contracts. We're going to make contracts and we are going to keep to them. And if you break the contract, okay, here's what happens. So I'm hoping I'm making sense here.
I'm following along. Yeah, perfectly. Those agreements. Let me ask you a question about the in-laws. Does that mean like making plans with the in-laws or reaching out for support from the in-laws, like childcare or family events, gatherings? What are we taking care of in our couple bubble before we talk to our in-laws? Give me an example there.
Yeah, great question. I'm going to say just about everything that concerns your partner. So in regards to family, like babysitting, I am going to talk to my wife before I'm going to share any good ideas I have about babysitting with my parents, our daughter's grandparents. That I've learned is in my best interest.
Did you try that before you made the agreement, or was the agreement in place because you tried that?
The agreement's in place because I tried that. You know, we learn from our mistakes. So with that, I mean, but it's also the spirit of it. It's like, look, we come first. We have to handle outside things like grandparents' work. We have to handle those together, or else there's going to be problems. I mean, maybe you don't need agreements for this, but obviously we do because we've run into issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely behaving like you're a unified front, and you can present that way in public as much as you need to and agree to, but in privacy, that's when the agreement is discussed. Like, hey, I'm going to call you forth. Like, you did not stick to our agreement. This is our private conversation, but in public, maybe we just don't go there right now.
Yeah.
We've got 24 hours per your agreement to handle this privately.
100%. Yeah, it's always good not for couples not to have important conversations and arguments in front of other people. What a way to make your guests uncomfortable. I'm just gonna like tell everyone how annoying my wife is, and
That's not true. That was just a hypothetical.
yeah. Well, no. Well, here, let me share. We can be annoying. We can't be threatening. That's straight from Stan Tack, and I agree because I annoy the living you know what out of my wife, and she does, and vice versa. You know, we're annoying at times. It's fine. We can be annoying, but we can't be threatening. I can't reach out to my grandparents or our daughter's grandparents too many times and throw Jess under the bus. That's messed up. I can't threaten the relationship. I can't say, oh, you know what, babe, by the way, next week I'm going to be hanging out with my friends for a whole week. I forget to tell you, but good luck. I'll see you. Oh, that's kind of a very egregious example. But those are things I can't do.
Sure. That's completely unfair and probably not part of your commitment to each other.
Yeah, totally. It's just not nice anyway.
Be a good person, not a nice guy.
Perfect. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because we talked about that, right? The nice guy. Did you talk about the nice guy recovery, or did I make that up?
Did you and I talk about it on our episode? I don't believe so, but
okay.
I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, because we just spoke to Jeff Lawton yesterday, and we dove deep into some behaviors and tendencies that the nice guy presents with, and it's always great to get another opinion on how that is detrimental to the relationship, how it's detrimental to the man himself, and what do we do about it?
Yeah, well, let me comment on that, if you don't mind.
Please.
So there's this concept that is daring to rock the boat. So I have to stand up for my reality, and I have to share resentments, even though if I know it's going to be uncomfortable, because I feel like at the core, that may be one of the things that the nice guy wants to avoid conflict. But I'm doing myself a favor by sharing it, and I'm also doing the relationship a favor. And I have to throw things out there. Maybe even, I know this contradicts what I'm saying, but maybe even risk the relationship because this need is so important for me. And if we can do that, if we can bring up resentments, bring up our needs in a manner that can be heard, we are doing ourselves a favor because we can show up authentically in a relationship. We're also doing our partner a favor because they know. Like I've seen people just think, okay, yeah, sure, whatever you want, I'll do it. Share whatever you want, as a means to avoid conflict. But two things, it's not good for yourself. It's also not good for your partner.
Because conflict breeds connection.
100%. It's better to be arguing than to be passive roommates, because that's when you're really in trouble. Because at least conflict, you're connecting, even though it sucks.
Temporarily.
Temporarily. Thank you. Yep. Good save.
And what you're not doing, you're risking the relationship, but you're not threatening it in that moment.
Yes, you're risking it. Thank you. Dave, have you thought about being a couples counselor? I mean, you're kind of a natural here.
I've done a lot of work, Jason, and I've contemplated a master's program, whether that be sports psychology, which would be still staying in my lane. And of course, relationships would come up in sports psychology because high-level elite athletes have relationships. And in order for them to perform their best on the field or on the track or in their sport, we would want to address what's happening in their relationships. And that kind of sums up how we ended up here with a podcast from a strength coach in Denver, Colorado, who's now running his business online. who's contemplated a master's, it wouldn't be in exercise physiology. I don't need that to do what I want to do. And right behind sports psychology would be a LMFT, master's in family therapy. But it's not in the cards, because starting an educational program right now would not be best for me, nor would it be best for my community or my daughter or my family. The one thing that's going for me in that realm to get a master's is I'm not in a relationship, so I can dedicate time to education. But resources are a little different than what
Yeah,
I
for
was hoping.
sure. Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
So we were talking about risking versus threatening the relationship.
I'm using that, by the way.
I think I just reworded what you told me. I don't think I came up with that at all.
Okay, but anyway, like that, I like it.
I'm just hearing you really well. And I wrote a blog post about how to feel heard in a relationship,
Mm.
and what a nice guy has a tendency to do, or a blatant, obvious behavior, is to make their partner feel unheard and unsafe and unseen, because they are tiptoeing. They're not daring to risk the relationship. They're like, yeah, I'm a yes man. I'm a yes man.
Yeah, 100%. And a conflict avoider, I had a colleague give me this analogy. It's like carbon monoxide in a relationship. It's slowly suffocating to be with a conflict avoider or someone who's walled off. Pretty
Mm-hmm.
cool, huh?
It is. That's a really good analogy. Absolutely. So, what are some tips and strategies that you have and that you coach people to help their partner be seen and be heard?
Hmm. Like ways that a partner can help their nice guy partner. Is that the question?
Well, the nice guy's already stuck his foot in his mouth by not opening his mouth.
Yeah,
And
so he's a lost cause, is what you're saying.
no, there's no such thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Otherwise, you wouldn't really have a career over there, because people would
No.
walk away.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So, do you have some phrases or some reframing of maybe something that I've heard recently? What I'm hearing you say is,
hmm
or that must be really hard for you. Let me just make sure I'm hearing you correctly. Do you have anything else?
Um, well, those are great, and that's so. Just so I know, like helping the nice guy come forward. Is that what you're getting at?
Oh, we definitely have to give the nice guy some language,
Yeah.
because he's not, let's see, solid practicing solidarity enough to come up with it on his own.
hmm
But if we nudge him forward with a couple of prompts and a couple of good phrases to work with, then he builds confidence again while standing up to his partner.
Yeah. 100%. So if I was coaching the nice guy, a basic and exactly, I like what you said, but kind of a rule of thumb that I use for communication is to share how you're feeling. So first you got to be aware of how you're feeling. And then second is to share that. And then, well, the second is to end on a request. So for example, when you yell at me, and you are disrespectful, I feel hurt, and I am not going to respond that way. And I would like for you to pause before you say blank. I know that would be an example. So you're getting your point across. If he was a super nice guy, maybe I would coach him a little bit differently to be more assertive. But ending on the request, I think, is a good thing, because a request allows your partner to help you, and it's vulnerable, but it's also, as a speaker for the nice guy, what do you want? Like you have to pause a little bit to see, like, what actually do you want? And also too, if I was coaching the partner of the nice guy, I would help them create space for him to come forward. Because generally I would assume the dynamic, especially if they're in my office, is the partner of the nice guys is kind of mad.
I'm pretty frustrated after,
Frustrated.
yeah,
Yes.
after months or years of submissive and passive behavior.
Yes. And so it is okay to be frustrated, but still to be able to speak from a manner that can be heard.
Did you say a mirror that can't be heard?
Oh, a manner.
Oh, got it.
So here's a good thing. If you can speak as a representative of the anger, you're still in your adult brain and not from the anger, great.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, if you do have these conversations where there's vulnerability, what happens? You end up connecting.
Mm-hmm.
And both partners realize, wow, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's how the conflict can breed connection, can build connection.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm. It's awfully vulnerable for a man to be aware, share, and then especially ask for a request.
Yeah, 100%. And that's stuff that I coach on. I always tell people, can I help you with this? Like I'm like, sometimes I'll point out the things that they may be doing that are getting in the way of intimacy or their goals, but also let me help you out. How about, why don't you try what I hear you're trying to say is, or this, because we also want to give people, like you said, people need to be taught. I think a lot of times we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, a nice guy generally is raised in a conflict avoidant family. He doesn't know any better. And generally, feelings are probably not used that much, or if they were, he had to take care of a caregiver or she. And so some of it is teaching the nice guy that, you know what, you can be aware of your feelings. And next step is too, you can also share them. And it's not going to cost you the relationship. In fact, the opposite. You're going to have a better relationship.
Mm-hmm. You just got to be a little brave. That
Got it? Yeah. Well, you got to believe, be real, be bold. You're welcome.
I love the buy-in, man. I'm gonna clip that out and I'm gonna make it part of the brand new intro that a buddy of mine in our building for the podcast.
All right. Well, there you go. You're welcome.
So, is there any possibility that what we're experiencing right now during shelter in place could do some overall damage to our relationship if we're not, or if we are tiptoeing around each other, or if we are avoiding conflict? What are some things to look for on the surface and then below the surface that'll help us kind of diffuse, work through conflict? I don't want to diffuse conflict. I want to face it. I want to address it, and then I want to move on. But what are some things to look for right now?
So if you're like in a relationship,
Yeah, in the relationship, because we're pretty much in each other's world 24/7, unless we have separate offices in the home, and we could probably be getting sick of each other by now.
yeah, I gotcha. So here's the answer. It is, how does it feel? Does it feel like crap? If yes, then talk. Sorry. um, but overall, this is what I think. And this goes back to Stan Tatkin's work of being a team. If you can share your fears around this, whether it's the coronavirus or whatever it is, and you can reaffirm that, hey, we're a team, we're going to handle this together, then that's great. Because I have actually seen this. People have gotten closer together because they realize, oh man, this is what we got with us. We're in the foxhole together. And also, I think it's beneficial, especially for some males, to be relieved of having to work all the time as well, because males can be more relational. Sorry, I mean, you know what I'm getting at, like with kind of like the stereotypical
Mm-hmm.
male off at work, provide. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not trying to like you know, like even in same-sex couples too,
Sure.
but kind of like the traditional, the masculine energy,
Sure.
to some degree can be relieved of that performance duty and can be relational. And I've seen it, and it's pretty rad. I've had a guy, and he was like, wow, you know, I'm home, I'm cooking again. It's kind of like me. More time with the daughter, more time with the family, working from home. So that can actually be a benefit, and that can be a good thing because it realigns our priorities. But nevertheless, it's also stressful too.
Mm-hmm.
And back to your question, I think fundamentally it's how does it feel? How does the relationship feel? If it feels crappy and you guys aren't talking, then you know what? Talk.
Yeah, because it's only going to get worse if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you and the other gentleman that you were talking about are so similar, but I heard a lot of gratitude in there in that statement. Like, I'm cooking again. I'm spending time with my family. I'm grateful for becoming more relational in my home. How far does gratitude go for us?
Oh man, you nailed it. Like, yeah, 100%. I mean, I feel like you got a lot more to say about it than like got good stuff than me. I mean, 100%.
Shoot, man, I've learned so much about myself in such a short time. Um, I've gone through my personal growth journey for just about 3 years now. When I first found the Enneagram, we talked about that a lot on the
Mm-hmm.
first podcast. But since then, I added additional tools, and I was always adding a relationship with God, journaling, yoga instead of just go all the time with strength and conditioning and jujitsu, which are both very, very strong pieces of that self-care routine and the mindfulness, because I have a mind-body connection through physical activity. And all of those things over the course of 2+ years of regularly doing them was to prepare me for a situation like this. And I have a lot of gratitude for all of that work that I was done, that had been done without instant gratification. Nothing really came of that. But what it took for me, and why I have so much gratitude for it right now, is because I was forced to slow down and focus on one thing. And I have definitely realigned with my purpose by creating bodyweight workouts, which is not a strength of mine, but it's definitely become a fun project for me to do. I've recorded 31 workouts in about 45 days, and I'm offering them up to our community, and it's been a lot of fun. And that's me realigning with my purpose, and that's my gratitude. But it took one extra key piece of the puzzle, and I joined a virtual men's group. And it's big. It's like 50 guys jump on a Zoom call once a week. And our leader, another podcast host that I really enjoy, gave me another step in the gratitude process. Instead of just journaling 3 statements of gratitude every day, well, Dave, make your statement of gratitude, write down why that's important to you, and then finish the sentence. As a result, fill in the blank, you need an emotional attachment to it. Otherwise, the gratitude doesn't stick.
Nice. I'm writing this down.
Please. So what you're grateful for, why is that important to you? And as a result, what emotion or what do you see coming from it, from that work? Because I didn't know that I could do gratitude better. But once you find out that there's more tools to put in your toolbox, you're just getting that much stronger.
Yeah, I like what you said that resonated about with me. All the work that you've been doing, the mindfulness, your relationship with God, jujitsu, all that stuff that you were saying it prepared you for this.
I didn't
That's
know.
really cool.
I didn't know that's what I was going to need it for, but
That's some
thank
cool
thank God I
gratitude
have.
right there. Yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to expose myself, I guess, to new opportunities, to new ideas, as opposed to just like, I'm going to stick in my lane of just barbell squats and dumbbells, or kettlebells and sports performance and all that. And I'm going to do it in one place. Well, that's not possible anymore, Dave. What are you going to do about it? Well, I'm going to create, which is not a strength of mine. I'm not a creator. I'm a systems and a product guy. I'm a doer. Well, behind the eight ball, or when the rubber hits the road, what am I going to do about it? And I've been thinking about this a lot. And like another piece of that gratitude is like, thank God I wasn't dating before this started, because that would have been, for me at the time, another place where my resources go to. And with a relationship to fall back on or fall back into, I may not have, quote unquote, needed to produce this new program. What if we're a dual income relationship and we're cohabitating before this started, and we're able to survive on that one income when I lose mine? Well, I could take my foot off the gas pedal and I could do a lot of yard work. I could do a lot of housework, but that doesn't align me with my purpose. Instead of surviving this time frame, because of that resource that I've poured into me and my purpose, I'm now thriving. And instead of like, I'm lonely, I'm grateful I wasn't dating.
Yeah. I'm happy for you, Dave.
I got a lot of time to sit here and think about myself, man.
That's great. That's good to hear.
Yeah, I
So,
appreciate it, man. I mean, did anything hit home for you there or resonate with you?
yes. Well, I've had to change stuff up. I was like really staunch. I'm only seeing couples in my office. Now I've been doing telehealth. Also, I haven't been as successful as you have, but I'm in the process of offering a course, and for a thriving relationship course, and I've started to record it. So I've been grateful for that. But also, I want to share something, and I've heard this recently, and I've been telling everyone. You get those quotes you like, and then so you just tell everyone. Being in the helping profession, people may actually listen, sort of. But
Maybe better
it,
than half will.
yeah, totally. But it's having an active relationship to yourself. And what I think of that means is what you were talking about, having the relationship with God, having a mindfulness practice, doing jujitsu. You may not have the payoff in the moment, but you're putting in the work for yourself. And I love that. And it's kind of changed my philosophy. I may want to chill and watch, what is the Tiger King, or what's the Netflix one, Too Hot or something?
Too hot to handle?
Yeah, I've seen my wife. My wife was into that. I watched some of them, but no, see, my ADD brain, I lost my train of thought.
No, it's all good. You
Okay.
were talking about active relationship with yourself.
Yeah. And so, I can do that. It's fine. But also, too, what would be beneficial would be if I cook, or I can clean up a little bit, I can exercise, or whatever it is. Like, I can do some of that instead of plopping on my couch all day. Of course, there's a time and place to do that, but I have to take care of myself first. I have to be active, and then I can watch the Tiger King with my wife. Anyway, but that's kind of been my things I've been thinking about recently. And also, to have an active relationship to your relationship, which
Mm-hmm.
is doing the work, which
Mm-hmm.
is daring to rock the boat, which is bringing things up, sharing your feelings, requesting. And so, yeah, that's kind of been my train of thought recently.
That's amazing. When you have an active relationship with yourself, you're also pouring into the relationship when you take care of yourself.
100%.
Yeah, when I show up healthier as an individual to our relationship, the foundation is stronger there.
Yep. And you benefit. It's like a positive cycle.
Yep, that feedback loop.
Yep.
Yep.
LMFT programs.
It's funny. I wasn't in the end of 2019. I was ready to be done with 2019. I'm just like, all right, God, I cannot be tested anymore. Like, just don't give me another one. And I looked up DU's program because they have a really good sports psychology program. They also have a master's of counseling that I could turn into an LMFT. And I was a day late. December 3rd, I looked up the program and their cutoff is December 2nd. So yes, I could put it all into perspective now that like everything in 2019 happened for a reason, for sure. And it was a dog shit year, I'm not gonna lie. But look at 2020. Like in all comparison, 2020 is worse situationally, but yet my mindset is so much better in order to handle it and be prepared for it than I was for anything in 2019.
And I'm going to say that, hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, Jason, I know that your time is valuable. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you for this thriving course or your counseling practice, what's the best way for them to do that?
Go to coloradorelationshiprecovery.com. And my email is jason@coloradorelationshiprecovery.com.
All right. I'll put both
So
of those in the show notes because I'm going to turn this into an actual episode. I find
cool.
so much value in the time that we get to spend together. And I won't make it another 6 months, almost to the day where we chat, you know?
Yeah, no, Dave, this is great. I'm inspired too. It's great to hear from you and great to hear all the stuff you're doing. I'm stoked to have my upcoming appointments.
Yeah. I've got to run to a personal training session now.
Great.
I got two sisters I got to coach, you know? So
Awesome.
I'm going to go get some sunshine and socially distance from my two clients that I work with 3 days a week and just keep on thriving, man. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, same, Dave. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay.